What's up, guys? This is Wences. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development for INFJs and how to create an epic life on your terms. Today we're talking about the paradox of being a private person and at the same time bringing out our authentic self and living our truth. This was a topic that was suggested by one of you, and the moment I read it, I recognized, yes, this is a question I get all the time from my clients, from people in the bootcamp, and just in the comment section. Like, you want to bring out this authentic self of yours, and we talk about it so often, how important it is for INFJs to bring that out and not always adapt to other people. But you always have this voice in the back of your mind: people don't deserve to have all your truth. People have to prove themselves worthy of your authentic self. It is precious and it is sacred and it can't be hurt, and we have to protect it. So how are we gonna find that balance and still feel like we're connecting and we feel full of life, and at the same time make sure that our most sacred parts are being protected and cherished the way they should be? That's what we're going to talk about today. Remember, if you want to take the next step in creating your INFJ epic life, then work with me privately. All the information you find below. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I've been talking about how important it is to build that authentic part of you, and that this has to be something that is not up for debate. And the more you do that, the less you're actually worried about judgment in this regard, right? The less likely it is that somebody can come into your life and have an impact on your path in life. Of course, there are things we cannot control, but we want to take charge of our destiny. We want to create that epic life, and being our authentic self is the most important aspect in this. But at the same time, I always talk about boundaries and how important they are, because we as INFJs are very impressionable. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. I always keep saying this because it's just a fact. If we put ourselves in any kind of situation, we absorb everything that's going on there. This is something that we're capable of. This is like a gift, but it can be a curse if you surround yourself with the wrong people. So how do you know when to open up, when not? Why is that even an issue? Why are we thinking about this? The problem with staying true to ourselves and being completely private is that we're missing out on connection. And INFJ or not, we're human. And as human, we crave human connection. It's something that makes us feel alive. It's the thing that will make us feel we're not alone. And if you connect with people through a facade, through something that you put up, which is a shield and not your authentic self, no matter how many people you surround yourself with, you will feel lonely. And our goal is to be interdependent, meaning the first step is being dependent. These are the parts where we lean into our codependent tendencies, and it's something that we all live in from time to time. Like, I'm not that naive to believe that I never live there anymore, that I don't have situations like this. This is just unrealistic. And the sooner you address this within yourself, that of course you're gonna have moments when you're there. It's always about improving. It's always about being more of who you are and being less in this state. But of course it's going to happen the more likely you are to actually see when things come up and then be able to change them. I, for example, had a situation where a friend didn't write me back a while ago, and instead of thinking, oh wow, why doesn't she write me back? What's going on? Why isn't it important enough for her to write me back? The first thoughts that came into my mind was, did I do something wrong? Have I offended her in any way that made this thing happen? So see, like, this is a dependent state. So her action has an impact on my well-being and has an effect on how I feel about myself, meaning I start doubting if I'm a good person or not. Thankfully, of course, I caught myself and I knew, okay, this is me being back in that dependent state, and that dependent state has absolutely nothing to do with her. It also doesn't have anything to do with the fact that she might even be mad at me, but it's the fact that I start doubting myself, that I myself have thoughts that I'm not a good enough friend. And I tell you this exactly in this scenario because when it comes to finding our truth in comparison to how private you want to be, this particular aspect will make the biggest difference. But let's continue on that path. So the next step from dependency is independence. This is the state where you say, and this is of course a black and white version, but this is the state where you say, I'm not going to share anything with anybody. I isolate myself. I'm completely on my own. I don't share my ideas. I don't share my thoughts. And in this state, there's nothing that can be done to me. I am on my own. I'm not putting myself in situations where I can be judged. And you're also also protected in this space, right? Because if there's no external judgment, you probably won't remember the judgments you have about yourself. Because I, all this time, had some kind of thoughts that I'm not a good enough friend. Because otherwise, if the situation would have happened where my friend doesn't write me back, my first thought wouldn't have been, oh, have I done something wrong? So the fact that this comes up means that all the time I've had these doubts. All these times this is something where I'm open for judgment, where I'm open for other people's opinions, and I allow myself to be swayed by that. I allow myself to be dependent on that thought. What they think has an effect on how I feel. In that independent state, yes, you're not going to be confronted with situations like this, but that doesn't mean that you really reached a point where external judgment doesn't have an effect on you. There is, of course, this idealized version of us, this perfect version that we can never reach. We just lean into. And that version, of course, is not impacted by what anybody thinks, by what anybody says. And it doesn't matter who you surround yourself with. It doesn't matter if you surround yourself with people who think you're an idiot, with people who think you're lazy, with people who think you're crazy. It doesn't matter. Even if you're around those people, you feel the most authentic self you can be. You share all your truth and everything is great. This takes a lot of mental practice. And of course, there's no such thing as now I've reached this. It's like saying now I've reached the highest number possible. There's always a higher number and there's always a way how we can show up in a more authentic way. And when you look at those phases, of course, in this independent state, you're more the private person. Over here, you're a little bit more of the I'm open up, but I open up only at certain people. I always have a sort of thing going on in my mind of there's like something I expect in return, as in I first observe you, then I see are you a good person, then I feel like opening up. And there's always this dynamic of, oh, I have to prove now that I'm a good person. And when it comes to topics and situations where you already know that you are not that far yet to share your truth and not be open for judgment, then this is an area where I would definitely say keep this private. Because the next step, so we have dependency, independence, and the next step is interdependence. In this interdependent state, we actually share more of our authentic truth, but we do it in a way that is not up for debate. We actually start connecting with people again. Because when you're in this independent state, and as I said, this is a black and white version, of course, but in this state, in theory, you're not connecting with anyone. And this will make you feel lonely. We need to feel connected. That's how we're built as humans. And in order to do that, in order to have those connections, we can either go more into that dependent state where we're open to judgment, and because we're so afraid of it, on a subconscious level, we keep so many of our honest truths hidden, or we go more into the interdependent state where we share things and they're not up for debate. So I remember when I first started doing this full time, in the back of my mind, of course, I had doubts that this is going to work. I've never done this before. This was a new territory. I gave up my 7-year career in the banking world, and of course, I was eager to create the same income I was making before and more. And so I began this journey. But since I had those doubts about myself that I could do it, what did I do? I actually started sharing this with my dad, who at that time in particular didn't see that this was going to work out. And my dad doesn't sugarcoat things. So he was like, yeah, I don't see this working. And when I was saying, oh, okay, so this month it wasn't like that successful in the beginning, he was like always making those faces and like, yeah, it's kind of scary. And so he actually fed into my fears. He fed into this part of me that had doubts about all of this. So what do you do in that aspect? Is it that you say, well, this is my truth? It would be fake to just say, yeah, I believe in everything that I do. This is who I honestly am. And you actually lie to the people around you. Like, for example, even people who are close to you, like your dad. Or you open up like I did, and then you get mirrored back your own worst fears in that scenario. See, in that example, I wasn't confident enough yet in that aspect to know exactly what I believe about myself. In that aspect, I needed to keep this private. So I made it a point to not share this aspect with my dad, because I remember the reason why I wanted to share this, even if most of us are not aware of this, is not because I wanted to share an authentic moment with him. It's because I wanted to feel that pain. Subconsciously, of course, but I wanted to feel, yes, you're really really afraid. Yes, this is probably not going to work out. I actually fed into those thoughts. So the moment you say, I'm blocking this part of me off until I feel confident enough to go out and stand in the truth that I want to live in, and then I can share this. So was I being unauthentic because I didn't share this part with my dad? No, I just made a judgment call of what I can share and what I should rather keep private. Not because I wanted to create distance to him, but because I wanted to become sure of what I wanted. And this is something that takes practice. So I consciously chose every time I talked to him to keep this topic short, when before I was actually opening up about it. I wanted also, once I did something great, I wanted his praise. But with that, I also was open for every time I wasn't doing something great, or I was in a situation where I didn't feel confident and comfortable. Of course, I was open for his judgment. So of course, every single time you share something like this, you're open for both scenarios. The goal was, though, that you get to a point where you don't care about the praise either. You just know where you're going and what you want. And with time, as I said, I stopped bringing this topic up. We talked about different things like where we're gonna meet the next time, what great things happened last week, and we still had a really authentic relationship. And the moment I had built that confidence that I know this is going to work out because I leaned into this, I fed into this, I surrounded myself with people who were where I wanted to go. I didn't talk to people about this who are not where I wanted to be. My dad is not an entrepreneur. My dad has never done anything in that regard. So why was I sharing this story with him? And once I got to this place where I felt completely confident about what I want, what I believe, I started opening up again. I was able to share, but not at an extent where certain things were up for debate. I've had situations where I had certain music I liked, and I liked it because it made me feel strong and it made me feel powerful and it inspired me and motivated me. But I also knew if some of my friends would hear this, they would think, oh, why are you listening to this kind of text? This is actually feeding into an area that they don't like. But I was willing to make that jump. Because at that moment, I decided for myself, well, I want authentic connections. You don't have to like the music I like, but I know I'm not going to change my opinion about my music because I know the reason why I listen to this is because it makes me feel the way I want to feel. And at that moment, I shared this authentic part of myself, and she had the choice to say, is this somebody I want to be friends with or not? And when you do this, you share your authentic self. You are getting into a place where you allow yourself to make honest connections, when before it was always based on the fact that, yeah, we have a relationship, but only because I keep this part hidden. Like, this is the dependent state. We're friends, but she probably wouldn't be a friend of mine if she knew that I actually like this kind of music. And these are the steps that I encourage you to take. Don't share things where you haven't found your truth yet. In those areas, take the time for yourself, stay in that independent state, and surround yourself with the people that will help you to create the kind of mindset that you want. How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel like you're going to be successful no matter what? Do you want to feel like your life is beautiful? So surround yourself with people who make you feel like this. And when you continuously do this, you build this base. And then once you have a base, then you can share it. Because sharing those most authentic parts of you that you know are not up for debate will allow you to connect with new people who would have never seen you if you kept on hiding those parts of you. And at the same time, it would make people go out of your way who don't agree with what you do. Because all of those uncomfortable situations where people are actually fighting with each other and have different opinions and so on, they only happen if both parties are open for debate. If you're not open for a conversation, then this will not affect you. I really hope that helped you to navigate this balance between being your truthful, honest self and keeping things private. Remember, if you want to take the next step in creating your INFJ epic life, then work with me privately. And if you want to watch another video now that's in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video on INFJ loneliness, why so many INFJs feel like outsiders. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.